Hey, Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Boom, good day. And this is why many of us are stuck in poverty. It's because we're into a mind game by the school systems, the government systems, corporations to keep us in their power and control.
The school systems is actually teaching people to be poor.
Robert Kiyosaki, quote unquote, the school systems are actually teaching people to be poor. Oh my God. And the government is supporting the school systems. Think about that.
The school system will never teach you about money. The school system is designed to teach you to be an employee or a doctor or a lawyer.
To be an employee. How do you break that mindset to be an entrepreneur and not just an employee?
A specialist, but never about money. My father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, I said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. Poverty is passed on. It's taught in your families. And middle class is taught in families. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you.
Now, these things were all taught to you. My parents never taught me about critical use of time or critical use of investments over time, or even how to get out of the middle class mindset or the poverty mindset or the getting a job mindset. Think about that. What did your family teach you that's keeping you down? And we'll talk more about this with Dean's movie and some other things here in a moment.
You know, your superego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever.
And until you change your mindset,
Correct.
Money won't help you, right?
Correct.
And we see that with people that win the lottery, people that make more money, they still have the same problem.
Right.
Because they have...
Now, this is a key, and we see this with lottery and some other things. They still have the same mindset about money. Instead of controlling their assets, controlling their cash flow, controlling their money, they still have the same mindset. And it doesn't matter if they have $1 billion, they waste it. They don't know how to make money grow and be their servant. We must change our mindset from being a servant of money to having money serve us. Great, great difference in mindset.
that poor man's soul.
Correct. If you're poor, you'll always be poor.
That's really hard for people to
Yeah,
understand.
the money will disappear that fast. Just like most pro athletes, you know, they make millions of dollars, and but 65% are bankrupt 5 years later. It's because they come from poor families. Now you tell them that, they get very angry at you. It's not, it's the rich fault. You know, it's you guys ripped me off and government ripped me off. But unfortunately, what Mr. Lipton was saying, it's passed down genetically. The moment I pay you, you think like an employee. That's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. The moment you accept the paycheck, your brain goes dead. As long as you're hungry, you'll think. You see people say, well, why don't you give the poor money? So the only problem with that is it just creates more poor people.
Give a man a fish, he fishes for the day, or eats for the day.
Yeah, you give a man a fish, you get a lot of people who want more fish, you know? But you teach them to fish.
But you are the Robin Hood of knowledge, because I see you giving this knowledge out, and
Yeah.
do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robin?
Yes, yes, yes. Don't tell people what you know.
Right.
Keep them poor. Poor will always be amongst us.
All right, we're going to stop and go there. Robert's got some great stuff. You got to change your mindset about money, how money works, how you make money, how you make it work for you, and how you create cash flows, other systems, other automations. But you don't have to worry about money because you know how to master it and make it work for you. Now let's go to Dean Graziosi and his video. And he talks about his father and his mindset. with when he was mowing grass. Great example here. This is Secret Habits of Ultra Successful, Dean Graziosi, Impact Theory, one of the great channels on this stuff. Dean is great, and there's many things that he has done, even stuff that I don't understand and recognize, but he's a champion in real estate and positive attitude and workaholic, but he explains how his mindset changed about work with his dad, and we'll get to that in just a moment.
Amount of enthusiasm have not only helped him succeed in business, but they've also helped him create one of the most successful direct selling TV programs of all time. It was so successful, in fact, that it's generated
Direct selling TV programs.
hundreds of millions in sales and has been airing on television every day continuously for 17 years.
For 17 years daily. Several $100 million. Incredible. And this is just in real estate.
His amazing web content, he's also reaching millions of people online, and his live event series has helped establish him as one of the foremost success coaches and real estate educators in the world. So please, help me in welcoming the dedicated philanthropist who has helped feed and house countless people who are struggling, the best-selling author of Millionaire Success Habits, Dean Graziosi.
Dean Graziosi. Now, I've got to get this book. I had it, but my mind wasn't wrapped around it. If you're going to get into high-ticket items, you need to get into systems that you connect the seller and buyer quickly and locate a property, get it to a private buyer, get that sale done, and they'll cut you out a check in 2 to 3 weeks of a percentage of that sale, and you didn't do anything but just connect the two.
Good to hear him, man. Thank you. Thank you. That guy sounded awesome you were just talking about.
He is awesome. You're going to love him. I can't wait for you two to meet.
Awesome.
So, man, I want to know, like, it is crazy to me growing up, living in a trailer park, living in a bathroom with your dad for a year. It's pretty crazy. How do you go from that while still in your teens to beginning a really just incredible entrepreneurial journey?
It's so funny.
We're going to get into that in just a moment. Hang on there. Hang on there. All right, let's resume this and let's see what Dean has to say.
Funny, even when I was sitting in the green room waiting, reading your impact theory, reading your values, you know, it's those foundational things that got me here. I just didn't know it at that time. So if I look back at that time, I did live in a bathroom with my dad for a year straight because he had I say that quick on TV and people are like, what do you mean you lived in a bathroom? Well, he had a house with no heat. There was no walls in it. So the bathroom was enclosed enough where we could plug in an electric heater. So we'd drag a bed in there at night, plug in an electric heater, and we lived in that bathroom for almost a year. But if I look back then, my parents got married and divorced a lot, which a lot of people go through. They didn't have any money, evicted from places, which other people go through. But I remember wanting to take care of my mom. And my driver at 15, now that I look back at 13, even probably 12, was something, I just want my mom not to work so hard. And if I look, those things anchored me through life. Like, even if you're running away from pain and that's your driver, great, use it. Actually feel the pain more. Don't ignore it and live a life of...
So he talks about emotional drivers. These emotional drivers, if we use them effectively, will push us to do things more effectively than we currently are. So we need to use and find emotional drivers that will push us to do things that we currently aren't doing, that we need to do to get ahead.
Of status quo or even a life of struggle because of that. In fact, let the pain sink in and let it be your driver. And then once you get past those, then other things kick in that can be your motivator, which I hope we get to talk about today. But I think the main driver was taking care of my mom. And I realized that at a young age, I watched how much my father struggled. And he worked hard. My father wasn't lazy. He got up at 6. He was busting his knuckles every day on cars and working really hard and worked till late. And he was frustrated. I was like, wow, he works hard. So that whole thing of go to school, work hard has nothing to do with success. There's no correlation. I live in Phoenix.
Now, again, this is a correlation with what Robert Kiyosaki was saying. Go to school and work hard has no correlation with success. And he'll tell you why a little more about this.
110 degrees. I drive by, there's guys up on the roof putting a black tar roof on. They've been there all day. It's 5 o'clock at night. They're physically working harder than me. I think I recognized that at a young age. My dad was kind of like running on a treadmill. And then there was certain people in my town that just seemed happier, more successful, and they just did things just a little bit differently than the norm. And it made an impact.
So talk to me about the time that your dad saw a guy mowing your lawn for you. That was
You heard that one?
That really showed the dichotomy between the new way that you were trying to think and then the old way that you'd been brought up to think, and the different results that each path leads to.
Really great.
Now, this is a great question, as Dean says. Now think about this. The way that you're trained and taught by middle-class working people is not the way that the rich and affluent think and do things. Grant, the love of money can be produce some great wickedness, but the love of the use of money to do good can also bring some great benefits. But the dichotomy here, there's two separate ideas, that you just work hard and struggle and get by, and everything is just struggle, versus using your mind in a way that produces wealth in ways that you've never considered. And not just a little wealth, but hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars. There's a different mindset there because you're actually using your creative and your skills and your abilities probably just in one area, whether it be investments or real estate. And Robert Kiyosaki asks, what the quadrant, where are you at? If you're not into an investment side and an entrepreneur side, you're into the other side, two quadrants, which will keep you poor and being poverty in a mindset and in a struggling set. You'll never get out of. You've got to get into the two quadrants where you get into investments and the entrepreneur area. You've got to get in those two quadrants. If you don't, you'll never get to where you need to go financially, and in many other ways, in your body and in your mind and in your creativity and your usefulness to yourself, your family, community, and the world.
Question. So I was probably 19 or 20 years old, and by then I had already I was working in a collision shop. I'd buy wrecked cars, fix them, and sell them. And I had my first apartment house by then. I bought an old, rundown house. I got it for no money down. And I built 9 apartments in it. And I'd build one apartment, and I'd live in it while I remodeled it. So I'd work on cars during the day. At night, I'd work on this first apartment. I'd get it done. And then as soon as it was done and it looked nice, I'd rent it, and I'd move into the crappy one.
Now, this shows you his drive and his ethic at a young age. And these things need to be done at a young age when you have more drive and more ability to do things, more energy. But here's Dean, very smart. He gets into a house, no money down. He starts subdividing it out into apartments. He works on these apartments, get them done, and then he rents them out. So here he has cash flow coming in, and he lives in them as he's working on them. And as he gets them built, he rents them out and increases his cash flow. So this house, big house with no money down, went into became an apartment complex, which produced multiple streams of cash flow, which really increased the value of that for an income, not only for him, but the value of the property.
And rebuild it, and I got all 9 done. And
So 9 apartments out of one house. And so that's 9 income streams. And the value of that property is going to skyrocket as well. Not as an income stream, but as an asset to producing income streams and as a resale value in the future.
I realized at a young age that at that time I was starting my real estate career, and by the time it was all rented, it was doing really well. It was cash flowing really well. My dad, always working hard and born during the Depression, was always like, don't borrow money. If you could do it yourself, don't dare hire anybody else. And I knew it was fundamentally flawed because it wasn't working for him.
There you go. It's if it's flawed, it's not working. But if it's really working, you need to look at how it's working because it is working. And study patterns of influence and power that really work, that really increase your ability to do the same.
So I used to spend all day Saturdays in this apartment house. I had a monster lawn. I'd weed whack all day. I'd mow the lawn. And one day it just hit me. I said, what my dad thinks is wrong, like doing this, during this time, this 7 hours of mowing, I could pay the neighbor $50 to do it, and I could go fix one more car or find another piece of real estate or flip a car and sell it for a profit. And I could make maybe a couple grand today. My ROI would be monstrous. So the first time, literally.
Now wrap your head around this. He's spending 7 hours weed whacking this stuff, doing the lawn, mowing it, fixing it up, whatnot. He could pay some kid $50 to do that, and instead his return on that time could be several $1,000s versus wasting that time and not paying someone $50 to do it. So he'd be smarter and better off on the use of his time to pay some kid $50 to do that, and for him to go use that time more effectively and make 2 or 3 grand. Think about that. That's the difference. That's the mindset that you need to get in. What is your return on your time? Because you're never going to get your time back. You need to understand that. You're never going to get your time back. It's the most valuable asset you have. So how to use that time as effectively as possible to get the most out of it so you can have the greatest amount of influence for good. You need to really consider that as you struggle and work on things.
The first week, the kid's mowing my lawn. My dad pulls in the driveway, and he sees and he gets out and he goes, "You're going to pay someone to mow your lawn? You got bigger than your britches. This is it for you." And I remember just sitting there, and I hated, my dad could be confrontational sometime, and he got so mad at me, like furiously mad. He got in his car, and it was a gravel driveway, and he hit the gas so hard, it sprayed rocks all over my car, like dented the whole side of my car, ding, 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 ding. And he left pissed, and I remember just sitting there. It was really a moment in my life, and I'm like, wow, his beliefs are so strong, and if you could do it yourself, you should do it, that it's compromised him in having the ability, to have more freedom, have more joy. And I realized at that moment, it didn't make me want to fire the kid that was mowing my lawn. It anchored in the fact that, wow, this is what I need to do more of. And I think I've been on a journey. You're probably the same way. I still, on a quarterly basis, I still look through everything I do, and it's like an onion. You keep peeling away the onion of what you shouldn't do. And I still look, I'm like, what can I have an ROI on? What can I make several $1,000s an hour, whatever the number is, and pay someone to do it? So that was a big tipping point in my life, because I started realizing that I didn't have to do things that I could get a better ROI on. And then it evolved even more so into stop doing things I sucked at, because the world.
Now here's several takeaways. Look at your ROI on your time, your money, and what you're doing, and focus on your better ROIs. Keep working on getting a better ROI. And lastly, don't work on things that you suck on. Find something you're really good at and become really, really good at it, and spend your time on that. And let the rest of the stuff go, and build that base and move that into multiple streams of income, multiple ROIs, so that the ROI keeps improving over time, and your influence does too. Because the greater your ROI, the greater your chance of influence is going to be. That's not talked about here, but I'm going to keep hitting that home on that. Anyhow, I'm going to give you the video sources for both this and the text, and we'll go from here. Some great videos in both these, so let's go from there. This is Roger Mark from Billings, Montana. Watch both these. And remember, you get to choose what you're going to do with your life, and how you're going to do it, and how you're going to influence others, and how that return on your time is going to influence others. Choose the highest level that you can possibly choose and work for it, because you need to bless the world, make this world better. And by so doing, you will make yourself better, you will make the world better, and that's one of the greatest goods you can do in this life. And I say these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.